Ladies and gents, welcome back to Pitstop! Hey! The Spanish Grand Prix is here!
Yay!
I thought you were going to sing. Sing!
Not a
In your best Spanish accent, yeah.
Gracias, au revoir.
Great. The Barcelona de Catalunya.
The circuit I know is potentially the worst.
I think it's called that, isn't it?
In and out of the track.
Yeah, it is. But having said that, I love the vibe.
Yeah, it is an amazing vibe, isn't it? It's Spain. It's the place I would always go on a holiday as a kid.
The thing I like about that circuit is that you can walk around the whole of it.
Yes.
In a whole loop. If anyone's been there, you will know that. There's a lot of circuits you can't do that.
And the fan zone's great, isn't it? It's that big area in the middle. You can really go around the track. You can sit on the hills. It's quite an open circuit. But because it is in the middle of nowhere, if anyone watching is going...
Good
Make
luck.
sure you give yourself time for the trains. Because genuinely, we walked, no joke, for 5 hours away from the track in the scorching hot, and we couldn't get a taxi, couldn't get a train.
Yeah, and it could, single-handedly ruin your whole Grand Prix weekend. So sort a taxi out beforehand, book it, or get a train ticket, or do something.
Yeah, because brutal sunburn is not nice. But those of you going to Spain, very jealous. Wish we were. The triple header is coming to a close, which is good, I think. I think it needs it because F1 is so serious week to week, back to back. You need time to come away, breathe, look at what's been going on.
Look, even it's just for us, really. I mean, I'd love watching it every weekend, but trying to fit 2 episodes in a week. I'm not a poor editor, by the way.
Yeah, we have an editor now, guys.
Yeah. Oh, hey! Yeah, he done the last one as well. It was quite good.
Yeah, the last 2 episodes have been done by the editor, and I will say that the last video currently has our highest ever retention. So the highest ever average watch time. So hope you guys enjoyed it.
Shout out to the editor.
Yeah, that deserves
Thanks
a
for
clap,
that.
because we want people watching for as long as possible, and thank you to you guys at home as well.
Yeah, we do. On to the Spanish Grand Prix, mate. What are your thoughts ahead of the weekend?
Well, first of all, something breaking is happening.
All right, well, let's announce it properly.
Yeah, I will announce it with the proper breaking news when I get to it. I'll build it up first.
Okay, all right.
As we know, this is going to be the last ever Spanish Grand Prix. Apparently, we'll talk about that
I think I know
today.
what your breaking news is.
But because of this, I think Spain have took something upon themselves to try and save the track. Fernando Alonso is now the ambassador of the Spanish Grand Prix in an attempt to save Barcelona on the 2026 calendar.
Yeah, I'd love your thoughts around this because as it stands, we don't know what Madrid's going to be like yet, do we? It's a street circuit. Notoriously, they are not the best circuits a lot of the time. Sometimes they can produce a great race, but we've just seen Monaco be an absolute shambles. Now, I'm not saying Madrid's going to be like Monaco, but when it's not a purpose-built circuit, doesn't always have the right characteristics.
Well, I'm going to give Madrid the benefit of the doubt because I'd say it's probably about as purpose-built as they're going to get for a street track.
Because it's in an industrial state.
Yeah, and they're literally building it now. So if they don't build it for the new cars, what on earth are they doing?
True.
They're building a fresh track, so it might as well be built for what we've currently got. So I actually think Madrid is going to be great. Plus, it's Madrid. I've never been to Madrid.
I've never been to Madrid.
But I think that's a cool place. I mean, Barcelona's just as cool, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But I don't think 2 Spanish Grand Prix are going to survive.
Look, I just never understood why everyone thought the Spanish Grand Prix was so bad.
I think...
Is it the fans? It's the drivers, isn't it, that say that?
The drivers love it.
Right, so what's the issue then?
Well, I think the issue is the fact that it's not really able to keep up with the growth of Formula One, is it?
Which is why Fernando Alonso is trying to make changes to the track.
I think they need a lot more seats. Because if you think about when we went, a lot of people were just watching on them hills in the middle, weren't they? I reckon they only have so many grandstand seats. There's a big grandstand on the straight and then obviously Paddock Club.
Yeah.
But a lot of people just watch in the middle of the track, on the hills or sat around the fields.
Yeah, but I do like that though.
I like it as well.
I like that. It's kind of harks back to the bare bones of F1 back in the day. I like that vibe. And also what's wrong with the hill? A little picnic, get your chairs out.
Nothing beats a little picnic, does it?
Nah, not really. No, I mean, I love food, so...
The Fabrador, I call him. I'm not sure how Fernando Alonso himself is going to save the Spanish Grand Prix, but look, he's Spanish. He's got his go-kart track there. He makes sense to be an ambassador.
Yeah, look, if anyone's going to know how to change the circuit to make it better, it's probably going to be the 2-time, should have been 5-time world champion who's been racing in Formula One for years and years and years. Whether they make changes to the circuit, I don't know. I mean, like you say, the driver said that they like it, right? Maybe the circuit doesn't need to change. I think it's more of like the infrastructure around the circuit and how good of a race it is to be there. So
personally, I think it's gone because we know Madrid is coming. Like, they've started building Madrid, and I don't think there'll be 2 races in Spain when F1 are trying to go to as many places around the world. However, they're having problems with Africa, aren't they?
Are they?
Yeah, because it was meant to be a South Africa race. That's like a big target for F1. But they're having big problems funding it to then back that they'll be able to do it consistently for like 10 years. That's what they want from a circuit, don't they? They almost want a down payment of, right, you're going to have it for 10 years. But I don't think South Africa can put together like a 10-year package.
No, well, you just need to know it's going to make money. At the end of the day, don't you? I mean, there's so many other circuits throughout the world which already exist and they're already there. And South Africa has one of them, even though it's in disrepair and they need to revamp it in order to race there. But that's not what they want to do. They want to do a street circuit around the stadium next to the beach. It costs a lot of money to do that. So are they going to make the return? You know, and that's purely, I mean, I can only imagine that's purely through ticket sales.
Yeah,
It's nothing to do with the broadcast, is it?
I read a crazy stat that apparently the reason Imola's coming off the calendar.
Because no one wants to go?
Well, I think a lot of people would want to go, but apparently only makes 20 million a year, where every other race averages 50 million profit. So
Not enough.
When you put them together,
It's not enough.
yeah. I mean, you forget about all the costs that go into putting these things together. That's probably not a huge moneymaker for F1 Imola.
No.
At that point, by the time they've spent everything they've got to spend to get everything put together, you know, someone's got to pay all the stewards, all the staff, all the insurances, everything.
We're seeing them go to countries where there's a high volume of tourists. Otherwise, they would have put a circuit in fucking Nebraska. But no, they put one in Vegas. They put one in Miami. Kota was already there. But Austin's a big place, you know? F1 needs to go where there's already people, where there's already going to be people going, wanting to go. So how many people are going to South Africa? A lot. A lot of people do. But is it enough?
I think South Africa honestly would sell out any of the tracks just with people from South Africa.
But do you think they'll price them out though? Because F1's it's an expensive sport, mate. It's not like going to, you know, a football game.
I don't know. But all of this depends really whether we're going to keep Barcelona or not. So let us know your thoughts in the comments. If we don't keep Barcelona, where do you want us to go?
Well, I would say keep it.
Yeah?
I think keep Barcelona.
2
yeah,
Spanish
I like
races?
it. I think see how Madrid goes. I don't think it's going to be great, but it might be. But if it's not, back to Barcelona. Revamp it, do it up.
Genuinely, if any new track comes into F1 that has been built now and you can't overtake on it or is shit, they have just wasted so much money because the cars aren't suddenly getting smaller.
No, but it's more than that. It's more that not just about, I mean, obviously it'll be big enough. Of course it'll be big enough to have overtakes, but like, I think it's to do with like, you know, the altitude. How does the air affect the cars?
I like it.
And other stuff like that. Like, there'll be things probably which they can't simulate when they're building a circuit, you know, or they can't quite nail down.
It's true. It's true. Whilst we're talking about circuits, I've had an idea for Monaco. I think this is the only way to save Monaco. Off the back of last episode, we had a few discussions of how you can change the track. Today, we're going to talk about how you can change the racing. My suggestion is on Saturday, they do 2 qualifyings and they're worth the race points. So the same amount of points you get in a race, you just split across qualifying for the top 10. All the points are done on Saturday. Monaco is a spectacle. The majority of people are there just to, you know, do business, see people they work with, have a glass of champagne on a yacht. You're not really there for the overtake. But what about if on Sunday, all the drivers got in a go-kart? And not just the F1 drivers, the F2 drivers. Because you could get 40 go-karts on the grid. Let the F1 drivers race the F2 drivers once a year, not for anything other than charity. It would be the biggest spectacle in F1 all year, and it wouldn't even be an F1 race. 40 cars go-karting around Monaco. You'd have action.
I like the idea of the go-karts.
Yeah.
That sounds pretty cool.
I just think the points on Saturday is the only way you could still keep it like on the calendar and it would work in the rest of the year.
Well, I like your creativeness, mate, and your imagination. Yep.
Personally, I think one of the better ideas I've had.
There's been 3 ideas, hasn't there?
Yeah, there has.
Change that chicane, which I actually invented.
It actually was only Fab who said that on the internet.
Number 2, change Rascas. Change the apex of the corner. And the third one was something to do with turn 1. But either way, I like because there's been so much talk for ages, isn't there? Like, you can't change Monaco, you can't change it, but you can.
They can.
You can, you know. Maybe it's not easy, and maybe the changes won't be that big, but you can definitely change it. So hopefully next year, which Monaco will be on the calendar next year, as we know, hopefully we'll see some changes. So it could be one of the more exciting Grand Prix of 2026. Breaking news.
Oh, yes. Break it.
Sit back and get ready for this one.
Break it out.
Mick Schumacher has been named as a potential replacement for Franco Colapinto.
Mick. Okay, right. Why?
Because you need to have a backup, as always, don't you? We saw that with Jack Doohan. Franco was there, ready to swoop in and take the seat. If Franco doesn't perform the way that he should be over these next few races, which we know that Flavio has said he needs to be fast, he needs to not crash, and needs to get points.
Yeah.
3 things not very easy to do in an F1 car. Who's next? We know they've got Paul Aaron.
Yeah, the reserve drivers they have surely first.
Yeah, but now apparently there are rumours going around that they're sniffing around Mick a little bit, who is currently in WEC. In WEC, they have 3 drivers per team. He's been beating all of his teammates, and he's been driving really well. I don't know if that translates to Formula 1, but they have been sniffing. Apparently, they've been giving it a good old sniff.
Would love to see it happen. I mean, if they're going to risk anything like that or try anything like that, the time to do it is before the start of next year. Because Gasly seems to think next year Alpine might have a car he can win the championship.
Yeah. I mean, I think they all probably do, don't they?
I mean, yeah, you have to say that, don't you?
Apart from maybe
all the No, I reckon shit, I can't remember his name. Right, first one to say the Haas team principal's name wins. Yeah, here we go.
We're not doing this on camera. He's got a lot of backing from Germany, apparently.
No surprises. His surname carries a significant amount of weight.
It really does. But there's one thing which I like that could give me the hope that he could come back to Alpine.
What is that one thing that gives you the hope he could come back to Alpine?
Flavio Briatore was the man who signed Michael Schumacher to Benetton after his first season in Formula 1 and won 2 championships.
Ladies and gentlemen, I think that is enough.
Mick Schumacher is signed to Alpine for the 26th season.
No, we'd all love to see it, wouldn't we?
Yeah. Do I think it will happen? Maybe. But maybe, probably not.
Okay, who's got more fans? Colapinto or Mick Schumacher?
It's Colapinto by a country mile.
Who's more known?
Mick.
Yeah, there we go. So that might be the only chance of carrying weight.
I think they should do a mid-season test in F1 for all of the reserve drivers and all of the current grid. And they all go out around a certain circuit that isn't used for F1, and they all put in laps. So 20 drivers, all the reserves, and you just see who's doing what. All in the same car, and then the teams can decide to swap in a reserve driver, change them out.
That would be great, just to see where the speed is at for everyone. Well, that's why I want to see the go-kart, mate. Because imagine you have F2 and F1 drivers all in the same karts. Who would win the race? If they all have to qualify, an F2 driver might slap everyone.
And it would also mean that maybe someone like us would get the chance to race alongside.
Yeah, well, it's got more chance than an F1 race, hasn't it?
There you go.
Well, let's see if Mick comes back to Formula 1. I like that note. But at the same time, honest opinion, I don't think we're going to see Mick back in an F1 car. Unless Colapinto's like awful and they're left with like no choices, I think they're better sticking with Franco.
All right, Mick or Paul Aaron then? What would you, if you were Flavio, who would you pick?
Mick, because Paul Aaron is like young, but he's not ready for F1. I understand we've pushed so hard for rookies and young drivers since we've come in the sport, because it wasn't happening at the beginning. But some of them actually aren't ready, you know? Some of them didn't even do that well in F2 or weren't winning or were all the time in F2, and now they're suddenly in contention for an F1 seat. That's kind of crazy to me.
Yeah, but I think that happens a lot. It does happen a lot when a new driver's on the F1 grid. It's just that there's been so many eyes on these couple of rookies. There's so many eyes on Jack and Franco because we knew the whole debacle that was going on behind the scenes.
Yeah,
you know?
if anything crazy is going to happen anywhere, it's going to be at Alpine, isn't it? With Briatore.
Yeah.
You know, who knows what that man is capable of? The puppet master, as I call him.
Looking ahead to the Barcelona Grand Prix, the Spanish Grand Prix. As we know, the FIA are clamping down on the whole flexi wing thing in Barcelona. So Barcelona will be the first Grand Prix. They made changes to the rules for the rear wing in China, but now it's to do with the front wing. So I got some numbers here. The flex on the front wing is being reduced from 15 mil to 10 mil.
Okay. Half? Sorry,
No,
no.
not really.
Five off.
Yep,
Maths
2/3.
was never the strongest point.
So what I want to know, mate, is
What do you want to know?
is this the weekend where it all falls apart for McLaren?
I was thinking the same thing. Because, yeah, as you say, they're actually implementing it now. This is it. Imagine out of nowhere.
If you look how McLaren started the season, it started so well, so strong. And then the whole rear wing thing changed in Shanghai. And Max has been slowly creeping back up to the back of them, sometimes winning races, you know. But he's slowly back in the mix. Was it to do with the rear wing changes? Maybe. McLaren said it wasn't. They said nothing's changed. But maybe. If they go and change the front wing now, are we just going to see McLaren fall completely off the map?
Well, because of these regulations, apparently most of the teams are changing a lot of their car. Big upgrade packages. But Red Bull are bringing their biggest upgrade package to this race. So whatever these restrictions
What's
are...
in the upgrade?
Well, I don't know, mate. No one's seen inside the box yet. But imagine Red Bull have now done something
Inside
with the wing.
box. It's just a cardboard box with just a Red Bull upgrade on it
With a
written in
bar on the
Sharpie.
top.
Yeah.
Imagine we were the ones who got to open it. No, I do agree though. I do think it will change everything because they've clearly found something and been doing it. But I don't know whether it will be like that significant. You know?
I think it sounds fairly significant because we've seen, you know, McLaren be so good on their tyres, right? And if you've got a lack of... Right, this is me putting on my Fabian Nui hat for a second.
Yeah, nice, nice. How's it going over there in Aston?
Great.
Yeah,
Great. I can
you
have
enjoying
and
it?
do whatever the I want, mate.
Canteen good?
Unbelievable. Canteen's great. I've got my solitary confinement room with a single chair and a lamp. So putting on my technical head for a moment, right? The less downforce that you've got on an F1 car, the less pressure you have on the tyres, the less weight you have on the wheels, therefore, the less graining, that you have on the tyres. McLaren have been so good on their tyres. Someone's trying to FaceTime me. It's Sam. Should we get his prediction for the Barcelona Grand Prix?
Yeah, just ask him off the bat who he thinks will win. This guy knows nothing about
Sam?
Formula One.
Right, you're live on the Pitstop podcast. Don't swear. I need your top 3 prediction for the Spanish Grand Prix this weekend.
Oh, God. Gasly, Tsunoda, then who's another one that I know? Hamilton.
Yeah!
Gasly, Tsunoda, and
nice.
Hamilton.
Rate it.
No, fuck Andrew. I'll call you back, mate. Bye. That's our mate Sam, who doesn't know a lick about Formula One.
Yeah, you were just schooling me about downforce and everything.
Yeah, so if the wings, you know, are flexy and they're letting, on a straight, they're letting the air pass through and, you know, essentially lightening the load on the wheels, does that mean, I'm going to get some hate, does that mean that, you know, that's why McLaren have been so good on their tyres? Because they're graining less on the straights.
You may get some hate, however, I will tell you that you explaining that is the first time I fully understood downforce. Because that's what it is, isn't it? The car and the tyres, and it's the weight on the tyres of the air going through.
Sky, give me a fucking job.
Yeah.
I need to be in the sky box.
So if they adjust it and then there's more or less air, obviously sucking them to the floor like a Hoover, that's what you're trying to find, isn't it? The
Essentially.
perfect amount of suck that doesn't pull the tyres into the ground too much.
We all love the perfect amount of suck,
It's important,
especially in
it's
F1
the
car.
perfect amount of suck.
Well, the best
shouldn't
way,
do that in
the
my
best way
hand.
that I can picture it is that F1 cars are so fast that if you put wings on it, it would probably take off.
And they can drive upside down.
yeah, we've seen the seagull wings before, haven't we?
We have.
Maybe that's something to do with
Maybe that was part of their plan.
lifting the car up. Yeah, just fly around the circuit.
Right, so if a car comes out at the beginning of 2026 and has wings and just flies around the track, are they disqualified if they still follow the track? Do you have to keep your wheels on the track, or can you fly?
Loopholes.
Yeah, there you go. Let's
Loopholes. Clap that, because that was fucking, that was really, really good.
I like a bit of education here live on Pitstop, mate.
There you go. It's not something that people normally come to watch the Pitstop show expect.
Well, what does Fabio Briatore think the change is going to do to McLaren? Do you think this is it, or do you think they're going to be just fine?
I think they'll be still up there, but I do think this will now bring the Red Bull of Max Verstappen, not Tsunoda, closer up to the back of them and potentially be even more competitive. And I genuinely, mate, you know, last year it came down to the wire between Lando and Max, and it was like, holy shit, who's going to win the championship? I think it's going to be a three-way. It's going to be a threesome.
A
down
three-way?
the front. Yeah.
I hope it is a three-way.
Man on man on man. Max, Lando, Oscar, all three, and George in the corner.
George is there, mate. He wants to be in the three-way.
Yeah, George the cuck.
Looking...
George is just watching, hoping to get involved.
Have you seen how close it is at the top, though, between the constructors now? I've got it here. It's mental.
Yeah,
McLaren
constructors,
have 319 points. Mercedes have 147. Red Bull have 143. Ferrari have 142. So there is only 5 points between Ferrari, Red Bull, and Mercedes.
Take it to the drivers, though, and it's even closer, right?
Yeah, the drivers is super close. However, I only have the bottom 10 screenshot here for something else. But where I'm going with it is 5 points currently in the constructors, and them difference in spots is worth like 30 million.
Wait, there's only five points. I didn't listen to
between
what you just
second,
said.
third, and fourth, 5 points.
Damn.
McLaren have won the constructors. That's
and then you've got Williams in fifth.
Hey! James Vowles is on me. Yeah, like you say, James Vowles is doing something over there at Williams, isn't he?
Right, isn't that mad, yeah? So the top 4 teams, they all have, you know, pretty almost 150 points each, right? So Ferrari at the bottom with 142 down in 4th. But then from 5 down to 10, everyone is like below 50 points. So everyone, you know, Williams essentially has a third of the amount of points as Ferrari in 4th. But then everyone, you know, Haas, RB, Aston Martin, Alpine, Kik Sauber. The gap is still huge.
Yeah, the gap is huge.
The gap is still huge.
The gap is like huge, but it's also closer than it's been in a really long time. And I think the gap will always be quite big. You know, I think in F1 you will always have half the grid that is significantly better than the other half, just because that's the way it goes. That's sport.
Look, mate, I think what we're seeing here is we're seeing Williams' master plan in motion, in full flow.
Nice.
Yeah. And it's just, we're witnessing it. It's before our very eyes. Everything that man said with the teeth, because James Vowles has got a million teeth. Looks like one of the Osmond brothers. He said that he was going to do this, and I think it's happening. So we're going to have to wait and see, aren't we?
Another man with a plan who has also said something whilst he came back to the paddock last weekend.
Yeah.
Adrian Newey has said something very interesting about Max Verstappen. Adrian Newey has said that Max Verstappen will always chase who he thinks will produce the fastest car. Why would Adrian Newey say that in an interview?
The thing about Adrian is that he talks very slow. And he thinks about everything that he's going to say before he says it, which is something that we don't do.
No,
we
we're
just
completely
say
opposite.
the first thing that comes to my mind, and that's probably why, you know, people have opinions. But he really thinks about everything that he says.
Yeah.
And if I do that right now,
yeah, what do you think about that? Always chase who he thinks will produce the fastest car.
Adrian is smart, and he's been in the game for a long time, and he knows what he's doing. This is the first proper interview that he's done since being with Aston Martin, and it's only taken more than a third of the season to, you know, before he said anything. He's been seen at the circuit. He probably knew which questions were going to be asked, and he probably knew what reply he was going to have. And I think Adrian's playing games with us. I think he has us wrapped up in his palm.
He does. I'm in it. I'm wrapped up.
Yeah?
I'm wrapped up in Adium.
You always.
Adiums.
Actually, you never wrap up. I've got some fun stats here, mate. I've got some fun stats. I've got some fun Formula
then.
One
Let's have
stats
some fun.
and numbers. It's to do with money because
Stats
I
and
think
numbers,
every
money.
now and again people like to hear about numbers and money and things to do with Formula One drivers.
Yeah, stats, numbers, money, Formula One drivers.
Yeah, something popped up this morning and I thought, that's cool, that's interesting. It kind of confused me at first, but maybe you can shed some light because you are the eye of the internet.
Yes, I am.
And
the
you
eye
are
of the internet.
the greatest Instagrammer of all time, dubbed.
Yeah.
Locally. Back in our
Very
hometown.
locally.
Right, so Lewis Hamilton is rumoured to earn 94 grand from one Instagram post.
More. Absolutely more.
There he is.
Absolutely more.
There's the Insta.
That wouldn't even get you a
Instagram
story.
expert. I love the confidence.
I just know that wouldn't even get you a story for Lewis Hamilton.
Okay.
He wouldn't even take a deal on his socials unless it was one long run deal. So a very high payment. He wouldn't do individuals. And it would definitely not be under millions.
Well, let's break it down. So maybe if he was contracted to a long-term sponsored endorsement over the course of a year, if there was 10 posts, that's, nearly £1 million. But I don't think Lewis is ever locking in 10 posts on his Instagram.
No, that's what I mean. He very rarely does them. There'll be millions each.
Okay, but it's interesting you've said that then, because that just sheds even more light on what I'm going to talk about. So 94 grand for a post. Okay, so that means if he does, like I said, 10 sponsored posts.
Let's move that to $1 million.
£1 million a post.
That's how much I would say
You think
minimum.
Lewis will charge £1
Minimum.
million for an Instagram post?
Yeah.
I think that's a lot of money.
No, it's because of...
I
It's
think that's
not
a
necessarily
lot of
because of the
money.
following. It's about the person. If you have that person endorsing something, that is worth £1 million, no matter what. He's a big name, mate.
I know, and his brand
Is huge.
is huge and important. But if he works with someone like the likes of Lululemon, and he's got to do 4 posts.
Owns a share in the
5
company,
posts.
though, doesn't he?
Does he?
I'm pretty sure.
I don't know. Maybe. Either way, you're not going to be seeing
Okay, well,
me
yeah,
in,
continue your maths, sorry.
Right, so if it was 94 grand a year, if he does 10 posts a year, it's £1 million.
Yeah.
Let's just say.
Yeah,
Let's
yeah, yeah.
just say. If it's with your logic,
10
that's
million.
£10 million. £1 million is what the rookies get paid in their first year at Formula One. Lewis earns 48 million a year, roughly, including partnerships, sponsors, and everything else. His net worth is said to be £385 million.
Pretty good.
Which is pretty damn good. Although, he's been in F1 a long time, so he must have spent a fair bit of that cash. Because his net worth is looking a little low.
I don't reckon he spends more than he makes, though, at
Do you
this
not?
point. I think he's got so much money coming in that, if he's running out of money 1 month, he could probably just ring his manager and be like, "Hi, can you find a company that needs some sponsorship?
Wait, hang on, let's just
Agree a little deal."
Right, let's just work that out. So if you divide 48 million, which is what he gets paid a year, into 3.1 million, he gets paid £15 a second.
Well, that's not bad, is it?
Better than I was getting paid on the site.
Kebab. That's a lot of kebabs.
Yeah, cheesy chips with garlic mayo.
Follow Coke.
It's estimated, that the minimum cost to build an F1 circuit is 200 million.
Okay.
So Lewis, single-handedly, on his own, not even with help from anyone else, he could build his own F1 circuit wherever he wanted to in the world. He could then leave Formula One and live off of his Instagram posts.
Yeah. And his track.
And his circuit.
Maybe he should buy Silverstone.
I think that comes with a premium.
Silverstone is amazing, but my God, half of it needs to be ripped up and rebuilt. They could revamp it. All the stands, everything.
Just rip it up and throw it in the bin.
It's
You sound like Tommy.
No, but it's a hard divide, isn't it? In such a high spectacle sport with so much money going around, like these old grandstands. With Silverstone, they could make it better. They could get so many more seats in. They could build proper stands.
Do you know what I think?
But it would take money.
I agree with you, but I think it just isn't the time yet. Do you remember in Eastbourne, where we used to live?
Eastbourne?
You had Cineworld.
Maybe we could go to Eastbourne.
Maybe we could go to Eastbourne.
I remember Cineworld.
You had Cineworld, you had the Odeon, you had these great cinemas, state-of-the-art, high-tech, surround sound, lovely, great seats.
Popcorn.
That's cool, right? But what was slap bang in the centre of town? The Curzon, okay, which was like an old-fashioned cinema from the 50s. I don't know when it was from. Either way, that proves that there's still a market for people to enjoy a movie in an old-fashioned cinema. Now, I think part of the beauty of Silverstone is the heritage, is the history. And I like the fact that it is still quite old school.
Yeah,
F1
maybe.
generates so much money that, yeah, you could have a 360 eye tower like they do in Dubai. You know, you can see the whole circuit, 360 degrees. You could do that, but I just don't think it's the time yet for Silverstone. I think people know it as that historic track. And when you go there, it plays into the vibe, you know?
Well, Lewis Hamilton can keep his money in his pocket for now then, can't he?
I suppose he could.
Maybe he'll just start fresh. Maybe he'll buy Quidia.
What would you do with the Silverstone track then?
Just change all the stands. I'd use Indy 500 as an example. You know how that stand goes like all the way round?
So a whole grandstand around Silverstone?
Yeah, just like a bigger, much bigger. I'm thinking of Copse Corner. I'm thinking of the stands on that. It looks quite old school. It almost looks like horse racing or like greyhound racing.
It's like fucking stables.
I'm sure I haven't actually been in that stand, but it looks like just a load of scaffolding and a load of wood.
Oh,
holding
lucky
up some
boy.
plastic
Yeah,
stands.
because you were in the hospitality all weekend, weren't you? Yeah,
No, I
all right,
just haven't
we
been
get
lucky
it.
enough to watch a
the
Copse
F1 loves it.
Corner.
I'm like F1 royalty when I go to Silverstone.
I'm just coming off that topic. I just think they could make it better. For the home of the British Grand Prix.
Completely agree.
But either way, the racing and the actual track is amazing.
Completely agree.
Spain is Carlos Sainz's home race.
Yes.
This season so far, he has only got 12 points. Albon has 42. Who will outscore who in Spain?
It's like the most red question ever. Who will outscore who?
Yeah, that was word for word, mate. That was word for word.
Who will outscore who in Spain?
Carlos Sainz or Alex Albon?
Albon has been doing great. Carlos Sainz has been doing all right. I think you might just feel the chili this weekend.
think?
Yeah, I think you might feel the vibe, you know, home race.
Yeah, he's got to do it here, really. Well, Sainz has had 214 races in F1. Alex Albon's only had 112. And Alex Albon is outscoring him. Is that just because Albon knows that car better? He's been there longer.
Yeah.
So maybe with a bit of chili, a little bit of heat, Barcelona will be the track.
Yeah, but let's not forget, you know, Albon can handle the chili.
Albon can handle
he can handle the heat.
The chili.
He can handle the chili. He can handle the heat, you know.
Uh-huh.
So, but I do think Carlos Sainz, he's bringing it home today.
Okay,
This weekend, sorry.
Should we find out who else is going to handle the heat this weekend and give them our predictions?
Yeah, let's head over to our predictions. And I'm glad you mentioned Carlos Sainz, because in third position, Carlos Sainz is on my podium.
Carlos Sainz in third. I like that. Third place for me after his Monaco win is going to be Lando Norris. Not sure whether that's because of the car, but we'll see. Max Verstappen second.
Oh,
Yeah, Max second. New Red Bull upgrades. I think he'll beat one McLaren.
okay.
You?
Yeah, shit. I really shot myself in the foot here with Carlos.
Your podium's become significantly smaller.
Yeah, because I wanted to stick George up there because I just thought, you know, he'll be feeling the fury. He would have made some upgrades, you know, some guns on the front of his car or something,
Silencer,
smoke
barrel.
grenade out the back. But you know, I don't think there's room. I don't think there's room for George.
Come on, there's always room for George.
All right, George Russell's second.
Let's go, George. Well done.
And in first place?
First place, I have gone Oscar Piastri. I think he's going to bounce back, and Barcelona will be a great track for him.
I like it. I like it. Fair
First
enough.
for you.
This has really messed up my whole podium.
Oh, I
Because
think
I was
your
going to put...
podium's
Right, okay, look, I will say, disclaimer, I was going to put Max first.
You can't make disclaimers before reading out your prediction.
No, I can, because I want the people to know that I feel like Max is he's gonna do something.
So where are you going to put Max?
Well, he's not on the podium anymore because I fucking put Carlos Sainz and George there.
He could be your bold prediction.
All right, bold prediction: Max could win the race. But P1,
Going for maximum points.
P1, I'm locking it in. I'm on your side. Oscar, he was not happy with Monaco,
No.
and he's coming back with a vengeance.
Yeah.
He's gonna get the win.
There we go. Oscar Piastri, a double win coming from over here. And my bold prediction is that George Russell will get pole on the Saturday because it will be cold, but on the Sunday it will be really hot, so he won't stay on the podium.
Wow.
So I'm going for a Russell pole, but he won't finish in the top three.
Okay.
There's a bold prediction for you.
So did you look at the weather this weekend?
I
then?
didn't. I thought Fab's weather report might be online.
Okay, well, I
Is it-
can confirm that Saturday is sunshine, 27 degrees, and Sunday is same temperature, but a bit cloudy.
Nah, but you've rushed that weather report, and, you know, my prediction wasn't rushed.
With a slight chance of humidity.
There
and
we
rain
go. What's the
coming.
percentage of rain? If it's above 1, it's there.
I'm going to say 69.
There we go. 69%'s good.
Ladies and gents, I hope you enjoyed this special episode. I feel like it was a special episode today, don't you?
Yeah, it's super special, wasn't it?
Yeah, we're trying to keep it below 40 minutes for our edit, and it hasn't really happened. So hopefully you can cut it down a bit, poor guy.
Yeah, can't wait for the Spanish Grand Prix. It's been a crazy triple header. We will obviously be back on Monday for our after race review. Hope you've enjoyed this one. If you have any questions for us about anything, Spain, F1, comment it down below.
Yeah, bang your predictions down below as well.
Yeah.
I'd love to hear those.
Comment your top threes, and then if you're right, we can congratulate you in the next step or something. I don't know. But yeah, give this video a thumbs up, hit subscribe, and
Bell
There
notification
we go.
button. And this is a special episode, actually, because to round off this episode, we are going to have a gorgeous a cappella sing-song from one and only Jake
We
Boys.
didn't agree that.
Thanks, guys.
We
Jake,
didn't
take it away.
agree that. Thank you for watching the show again. We have so much fun making them. Bye.